I was the two-man in the lead flight of the 67th Fighter Bomber Squadron flying out of Wonju, South Korea. We had been briefed that our target was to make rail cuts on a section of tracks near Kunuri and then on to the town of Yongdongni. We arrived at the target at approximately 1535 hours. I lined up and salvoed my 4 rockets. I pulled off the target in a skidding turn, took spacing, and then made a second strafing pass. As I began my pull-up over a small hill outside the town, I felt the impact of what seemed to be a small explosion just under my feet on the underside of my aircraft. Heavy black smoke filled the cockpit almost immediately, and I was unable to read the flight or engine instruments, nor could I judge my aircraft's attitude by visual reference to the ground. I ducked my head and jettisoned the canopy, hoping to be able to see clearly. The smoke was thick. I called my flight lead, stating that I had been hit and was in trouble. I pulled the aircraft up into a steep climb, removed my helmet and oxygen hose clamp, and unlocked the safety belt. I lowered full flaps and turned to the right. When I thought the aircraft was as slow as I dared take it, I nipped smartly over the right side. The slipstream threw me downward, for I could see the tail surface going by above me about 5 or 6 feet. I must have left the aircraft at about 2,000 feet, and after my chute opened, I observed the aircraft, trailing smoke, hit the ground and explode about a mile from the Singyi-Sangwon main supply route. Coming down, I could see no activity around me. I certainly liked it that way. Although I was anticipating my landing, I struck the ground hard on a slight downslope. The impact resulted in a sprained right ankle and a torn ligament in my left knee. My flight lead was already giving me cover, so after I had released the harness and pinned it to the ground with my trench knife, I stood up and waved to let him know I was in good shape. My next step, actually my next crawl, was to pull out my .45, charge it, and lay it on the ground. I then opened my backpack escape kit, which contained my radio. I assembled it and checked in with the flight lead, Captain Anderson, who was capping me. He assured me that one of the lads in the flight was already summoning the copter and an additional cap flight, and told me to stay there and relax. I complied with the first part of these instructions. I realized that because of my leg, I would have to be picked up by the copter or face capture. I spread out my chute, sticking 3 knives in it to hold it, so the helicopter would be better able to spot me. I then crawled to a ditch and prepared for a wait by laying out my cigarettes, lighter, .45, and radio. I notified the cover flight that they were drawing automatic weapon fire from the north and advised them to make orbit farther to the south. There were 2 aircraft covering me. I locked my radio set in the receive position. I heard all conversations and soon learned that 2 enemy soldiers were attempting to reach me. My cover aircraft fired a warning burst in front of them, but both men continued to advance on my position. The aircraft made another pass and again fired a warning burst. I called and told them not to strafe all over the place, as I might have to live with these people for a long time. I guess the fellows were sure I was going to be rescued because they set up a traffic pattern on the area. On the next pass, 1 man retreated and the other was claimed KIA. Several strafing passes were then made in an attempt to quiet the fire from the north, but with little success. About this time, I began to hear the radio calls between the copter and its cover flight. They made a rocket pass to the northwest and followed it with several more strafing passes in an effort to prevent more automatic fire. When the copter came into view, I called and suggested he make his approach from the southeast. The helicopter made 3 passes toward my position, but each time as he approached to within 30 or 40 yards, the small arms fire increased tremendously and he was forced to withdraw. I heard the pilot of the copter say he thought it was too hot an area to make a successful pickup, and that he would have to leave. I started to call him, but I heard Lieutenant Byers telling him that the 4 Mustangs would make an effort to quiet down the area, and that he should stand by for 1 more pass. With this, I was entirely in accord. So was Captain Good, the pilot of the copter, provided I left the immediate area. He wanted me to run to the southeast about 200 yards or as far as I could. The Mustangs began strafing the entire area on all sides of me just as the copter began to lose altitude for the final approach. As the fighters pulled up, I ran like an injured gazelle in the direction of the copter's pass. The enemy ground fire opened up again as the copter and I approached head-on. The copter was still moving when I grabbed the metal bar used for carrying litters. I hung onto this and the corpsman in the copter hung onto me. Aided by the medic and motivated by small arms fire, I got into the chopper by the time we had gained just a few hundred feet. The pickup was made at 1,715 hours. In my opinion, the copter pilot, Captain Good, displayed an amazing amount of nerve and did a splendid job. It takes guys who will not give up, like the pilots who were covering me, to get men back.